Hey folks, in this video I want to talk about a Google form that I've created for do nows and exit tickets. You might call do nows different things like a warm-up or an icebreaker or a door, whatever. The thing you use to start your class and the thing you use to end your class, whatever names you use. I like to call mine a do meow because I'm silly like that. But anyway, here's a Google form that I created and some folks have helped me with some input along the way. But I like it a lot, and I'd like to share it with you. So here's how it's set up. I have it in a few sections. The first section is just for students to input their name, let me know what period they are in, and say if they're here for the do now or exit ticket. And so this last question is set up so that depending on your response, it will take you to a different section. You can do that under this modifying area here. So you click on your three little dots, and you can say, hey, go to a section based on answer. If I uncheck that, now my document's all messed up. So I'm going to recheck that, and I'll say, hey, please, instead of continuing to the next section, go to the do meow section. And in this case, please go to the exit ticket section. Nice. All right, so my students at the beginning of class will select, hey, do meow, and it'll take them to here. And so I'll have them restate our learning goals in their own words. And I'll keep my agenda posted so this is visible to them. And then I have a battery of questions. Some of them are about previous lesson to see what they've retained. And some of them are questions that I don't expect my students will necessarily know the answers to. I'm probing them so that I can really know, what do you know right now before the beginning of class? And then I also have them state their understanding of the goals. And at the bottom here, I have it selected to submit the form so that they're finished after they complete their do meow, or as I call it up here, do now. And so alternatively, if they select they're here for the exit ticket, it'll take them to a very similar section where I ask them a battery of questions, mostly regarding what we learned in class that day to see what they've actually learned. And I also ask them how they're feeling about the learning goals. Do they feel like they achieved them, or do they feel like they still need a little bit of help? If they select that they're on this bottom tier, that they're feeling totally lost or could use a little bit more help, takes them to another section where I allow my students to tell me what is actually having you feeling confused or perplexed, and how do they think they would like to receive help to get better. So I really like this form, and I really like the data that it spits out, because immediately at the beginning of class, I can see how many students from each section have responded. And then afterwards, I can analyze, okay, how many of my students actually responded to this, the do now, and how many responded to the exit ticket. And we can see from this that I didn't get the same response rate and not as many responses as I would like to have on the exit ticket. And later I'll show you how to figure out exactly who responded, because looking through this is not super helpful. But in the beginning of class, I can go through my do meow. I can see what students got out of our learning goals by reading their individual responses. I can read their individual responses for what is the general formula for a combustion reaction. And go through correct and incorrect responses. And I can do that for all of my different things. And for the questions that are probing student knowledge, I really like going through these and highlighting and celebrating people who already have the amount of knowledge. I like this because it keeps things anonymous, so students aren't necessarily outing themselves if they don't know or are confused, because that anxiety is really an issue with a lot of kids. But when you do read a particular answer and celebrate it, I find often students are excited and go, oh, that was my response. So it's a really great way to empower students without really putting anyone out there in a position where they're going to feel anxiety about failure. Not that they really should, that's some good grit building, but I don't want to create an environment of anxiety. And so for other answers, particularly multiple choice ones, you get a nice little pie chart. I like these a lot because you can really, with percentages, immediately see, okay, I know that in this case, 50% of my students are like, I don't really think I know what's going on. About a quarter of them are feeling pretty confident, and a quarter of them are like, whoa, this is totally new to me. I'm in totally new ballpark. So that's sort of the data processing side of it. And if you want to get a little bit fancier with this and figure out exactly who said what, we can import this, or rather export this, into Google Forms. And so I'm going to create a new form because this is the first do now I've done this semester, and I'm going to call this marking period 3 do meows. So here is that spreadsheet. I went through and I removed everybody's last names temporarily because I don't want you to see all my students' last names. That'd be weird. But here are first names, and I can, with their last names in place, really determine who said exactly what. So, if I had some impolite answers, perhaps, or if I had some people, I don't know, who had some very insightful answers that I wanted to personally congratulate or see how they came across this knowledge, it's really nice to know. And the other thing I can do is scrolling down, my C period came first, then my D period, and then my H period. So this is nice. I can see if people completed these after class. So this was completed 4 days after class. That's kind of weird. So I might have to talk to that student about it. And usually I would organize this data. What I would do is I would click up in this corner and I'll right click and I'll say, hey Google, I'd like to sort this range. And thank you, you've already given me header rows up in here, which we can sort of see. I'll check this box and I'll say, hey, please organize these. I like to have them organized by period. And the other thing I like to do is organize by last name. Now, this isn't going to work because I removed everybody's last names, but normally this would be a great way to organize your data. And what this normally would do would sort each student so that we can see, let me pause the video really quickly. So I added the last names back in, I sorted my data, and then I took them back out, so you can't see them. But now what I can do is see, okay, Angelo filled out both a do meow and an exit ticket. And I can see all these folks who I have 2 listings for filled out a do meow and an exit ticket. And the other folks, I can see exactly what they did. So it's a really nice way to really quickly check what your student participation rate was. And if you start seeing consistent issues with people omitting their do nows or exit tickets, then you can have a little talk with them. Cool. So this is a really nice form, in my opinion. Maybe you think it's stupid. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. But if you really like it, I encourage you to copy the format and try it for yourself. Cool. Well, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Ta-ta, and have a great rest of your life.